My name is Jessica Cooperman. I'm an associate professor of religion studies at Muhlenberg College in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I also direct the Jewish Studies program there. My connection to the center is long and deep and loving. I was actually part of the first group of graduate student fellows at the Center for Jewish History, and so I think of the center as the starting place for all historical research. I feel like any project has to begin with a trip to the archives at the Center for Jewish History. I was really privileged and lucky this year to be a fellow. Oh, now I have to think of the title. It's the fellow in Jewish Christian Relations from Fordham University and the Center for Jewish History. Which was just a fantastic opportunity. It gave me a chance to spend some time at the libraries at Fordham University, and of course to come back to the center. I'm really interested in sites of Jewish Christian dialogue projects for promoting Jewish Christian understanding in the post-World War II period. One aspect of the larger project that I'm interested in is thinking about the development of Christian Passover seders, where that ritual comes from, how it ties into larger streams of Jewish Christian interfaith dialogue and understanding that emerge in the post-war period. So I was interested to look at the changes that we can see in the types of Haggadot that are published and are used, and then to sort of read those against the contextual records found in an organization like the Synagogue Council of America, as well as others, but that is one of the starting points. I had come into this project, I had already found a collection of Christian Passover Haggadot that I was really interested in, where they came from, why this ritual emerged, and like I said, how to tie it into larger streams of Jewish Christian interfaith dialogue in the post-war period. And the center doesn't have a particularly large collection of Christian Haggadot. So I was reading contextual material, looking at Jewish Haggadot, all of which was really interesting. But the document that I found that actually kind of did upend my narrative a little bit was I was reading the introduction to one of these Christian Haggadot. So it was put together by a Christian author using sources that he felt were appropriate for a Christian audience. And he made reference to a Haggadah published in 1954 by the Anti-Defamation League that was intended to be used by Christians. And so I immediately went back to the finding aids at the American Jewish Historical Society, and sure enough, there was a copy of this Haggadah published by the ADL back in 1954. And it was a really interesting document for me, both because at that point in the research, I was fairly confident that Christian publications of the Passover Haggadah had largely started after Vatican II, so in the mid-60s and onward. So this was a whole decade earlier than I expected to find one of these Haggadot. And it was also surprising to me that the earliest record I can find of a Haggadah intended for use in a Christian community wasn't published by Christians. It was published by the Anti-Defamation League and seemed very clearly part of their project in the post-war period to help promote better understanding between these two communities, and that they saw Passover as this moment really ripe for building bridges across these two communities. And that document then became really important to me because I think the phenomenon of Christian Passover Seders has moved in many different directions since then. But I was very fascinated by the origins of it, and they weren't what I expected. And I wouldn't have known that had I not found that one reference and then been able to go back and find the actual document in the archives. So it was a tremendously useful and surprising twist to the story. Every once in a while in my teaching, I've been able to I try always to use primary documents, but to bring students into a rare book collection, or to give them some taste of what it feels like to work in an archive. And I've always found that even students who only have a passing interest in history or in Jewish history, when they get that chance of saying, like, but this is really the thing, like, this person signed this letter, this is really from whatever period of time, and seeing it themselves or getting to touch it themselves, it's exciting. And I think it gives even uninterested undergrads a really new window onto why history is exciting and important, and that you can bring new insights into questions that the primary sources really do take you in new directions, that the writing of history is this very alive field